Hello, Matt, and welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate the chance to speak with you. I'd just like to start off by asking how are preparations going for the Paralympics in Paris?
Really well at the moment. I mean, we're training so much, obviously. We do year round. We don't really have an off season, so it's not like we come into training and we go out for it. We're just training for the whole cycle pretty much with a bit of time here and there after tournaments. But it's ramped up a bit again. We're training more and more, better and better, just getting sharper and sharper. And it seems to be all working out well for us. We're like on the way to be peaking at the right time, which is the key to it all.
And what does a typical training week consist of for yourself?
So just so much training, just a lot of kicking. We do a couple. It depends on what phase we're in, but we kick most days. That can be like a technical session, a sparring session, working on specific things, or tactically we can be working on things. Depending on what stage we're in of training is depends on how long those sessions look or what we're trying to achieve. And then we'll also do conditioning most days separately, then on a bike or assault bike or a watt bike or something. And then we do 2 to 3 strength sessions a week also.
I've read online that you've done a few sort of different martial arts in the past, things like jiu-jitsu. I think you've done MMA and boxing. What is it that you love about martial arts and combat sports?
Um, I think my first love was MMA. I think just because there's so many variables, it's so open that I could be creative with it and adapt it to my disability better. Like with boxing, I wanted to do boxing when I was younger, but everything's derived off the two hands, everything's the jab cross, everything's works. That it'd take a lot to be able to um, adapt that to me. Whereas with MMA, you can grapple, you can kick, you can knee, you can elbow. Like there's just so many different things you could do that it allowed me to find my own way of doing that. And I think that's what I liked about it most.
And how did you first get involved with Taekwondo?
So Taekwondo was I was doing javelin with Anthony Hughes from DSW. And I hurt my shoulder on the lead up to Rio, and I couldn't do javelin anymore. And he said he knew I was interested in martial arts, and I was doing a lot of fighting here and there. And he suggested that I go and give Taekwondo a go because it's going to be in Tokyo. And we went up there. He got us in for an open day. There wasn't really a para program at that time. There was just Amy was there, but she was kind of there as a bolt on, and she was there off her own steam. There was no real para program funding. So we went up there. We had a trial day, and then sort of a few weeks later, we were in Korea fighting in tournaments, and it was just like it just took off from there.
And what is it that you've enjoyed about Taekwondo that's kept you competing in that over the last few years?
Um, I guess I guess it was just a problem to solve. Um, it was hard to get going in Taekwondo. It's hard to win at the start because the way the seeding happens, you go to these tournaments, you'll be fighting the best person in the world your first fight because of the way the seeding works. So like getting going, getting wins is very, very difficult. Working your way up the rankings so that you're in better seeds in tournaments, it's very, very difficult. I think solving that problem early on was intriguing to me, and I knew I could do it, and I had the athleticism and the mentality. It was just learning enough about the sport to be able to carry that over to victories, and solving that problem was the fun part, I think.
And what are your expectations going into the games?
I just hope to take it all in, enjoy it, and perform at or near my best, and that's really what I hope for.
And who are you anticipating are going to be your toughest challenges?
They're all good. There's a good group of boys in my division. They've been doing it a long time. They've been doing Taekwondo a long time. They know how to score points. They know how to play the system. They know how to do Taekwondo. So there's quite a few of them that are very capable.
And as you kind of alluded to earlier, obviously unfortunately missed out on the games in Rio and Tokyo, both through injury. How did you sort of deal with that situation and kind of, I guess, obviously, motivate yourself and things to keep training to get qualified for Paris?
Yeah, I think I wasn't too. I'm not overly outcome dependent. I think I was earlier on in my career and in my sporting career. Even as a young lad, I had to win. I had to do this. I had to do that. It's all very well having those goals, but everything I'm doing along the way is improving my life and improving the lives of people around me. So that's probably the best thing about it. And getting to go to the games, getting medals, that's all stuff that comes from that. And if it happens, it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. My life's going to go on the way it is. But I'm always going to do my best to try and achieve those goals. But it's not the overriding thing.
I've quite spoken to a few of the GB Paralympic team over the last sort of couple of days now, and what you alluded to there about perhaps when you're younger being a bit more sort of outcome dependent seems to be quite a common theme, and perhaps as you get older, it's more about focusing on yourself and improving yourself. Do you think that's something that just comes with maturity and age, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it's probably a natural thing to go through if you're a bit self-analytical as to why you're feeling pressure or why you want this or why you want that. And I have seen a few other good athletes go through the same process, and you've got to free yourself from the outcome because that's what's going to essentially let you become the best version of yourself anyway. You can't control the outcome. So there's no point worrying about everything like that. Everyone wants you to win gold. You want to win gold, but you can't really control that. You just do your best prep you can do, try and be the best you on the day, and hope it all falls in the right way.
And what do you do during the competition to kind of relax in between competing?
Um, it depends really, because I just go to sleep. If there's going to be a long break, I'll just go to sleep and say, wake me up close to when the fight's going to happen, because the organization of some of the tournaments we go to around the world is up and down. So you might be fighting two fights back to back, and then you might wait 5 hours. It's just all up in the air. So I've learned to, again, that's something you can't control. So give me as much warning as you can before the match, whether it's 10 minutes or half an hour. I'll get up, I'll do my warm up, and I'll go out there and I'll do what I can do.
And what do you perceive are your biggest strengths as a taekwondo athlete?
Mentality, um, general athleticism, I think, because I've done so many different sports, I can take things from all these different sports and apply them to something else. I'd say that's probably one of my strengths.
And who would you say has been the biggest influence on your taekwondo career so far?
On my taekwondo career, probably Anthony Hughes, just getting me involved in it. I'd say that's probably the biggest thing, because I wouldn't have even considered it before. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know where they were based. I hadn't really watched it at the games before or anything, so I didn't know anything about it. And him just saying, right, come on, let's just go and have a go. That's probably the biggest influence.
And what's been the highlight of your taekwondo journey so far?
All the trips away with the team. We've got such a good, like, our para team's quite small, but we're close. So when we go away, we're all together. We all get on really well. We all have a good time. We've made lifelong memories, lifelong friends. I think that's probably the best part of it.
And you mentioned earlier about your sort of love of MMA. Are there any particular fighters that you've idolized or really enjoyed watching over the years? And what is it that you like about those fighters?
Yeah. Do you watch MMA at all?
I'll be honest, not a great deal. I follow, likes of sort of Paddy Pimblett and some of the British guys, and aware of sort of some of the top fighters. But it's not one of my biggest sports, I would say.
Yeah. So we're lucky at the moment. We've got like Aspinall, who's heavyweight, British heavyweight, who's looking really, really good at the moment. So it's nice to have those British fighters like him and Bisping, who were like, Bisping was a bit of a trailblazer, fought sort of against the odds, fought with one eye, came back, won a title. It's like incredible stories. They're people I like, obviously being British, but then also I think I lean towards more the outsiders of the sport, like say a Mark Hunt, who sort of was up against it. People would judge him a little bit as just this or just that, and then he'd just spark people clean out. And then we'd had like the Diaz brothers, who were abrasive, wouldn't play the game, but were incredible fighters, and who just would come to fight every time, even if whatever was going on, they'd come to fight. And I think those sort of fighters are the ones I'm drawn to most.
And what other sports did you play growing up? You alluded earlier to the fact you've played quite a lot of different sports. Were there any others that you haven't mentioned so far?
Yeah. When I was younger, I played all the standard stuff. So I played football for the town and the county. I had trials at Swansea City football. I played rugby for the town, got into the county team for rugby, played a bit of cricket, played a bit of tennis, literally anything. I think I just had heaps of energy as a kid, and I didn't want to be cooped up inside. I just wanted to be out doing stuff. So almost any sport that was accessible to me, I just went and did and tried to be good at.
And as obviously you've mentioned a bit about coaches, but what other support staff have you had access to, in the build up to the games, and how important have they been in your preparation?
So GB's support staff is next level. GB Taekwondo, they're like, the physios have got me back from the brink of death. They're like Frankenstein, just like stitching me up, and I get back in and they just pull me back. It's unbelievable, really, what they've done for me, because as you know, I've had some serious injuries that we've come back from, and a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to come back from them, but due to the medical staff all working together with me, and the strength and conditioning even is incredible. And now we've got a great PA team, a performance analysis team that really help prepare you for. It's more than a job for these people. I think they're like involved and interested in you. They want to help you, and having those around is invaluable. For example, like I think it was at the Worlds or the competition before the Worlds, my coach Andrew Deere, who's a friend and unbelievable coach to us, he's the only coach for para, so he had to coach someone else. Our matches collided, and normally they let you wait, but they weren't letting us wait. So I had to have a coach from a different country. I think it was Serbia, but because our PA was there, and because he was so interested in the sport and interested in our careers, he could give me advice from the stands on the opponent who I was fighting, telling me what he was going to be trying to do, which, like, that's invaluable. That doesn't happen in a lot of sports, I think.
So you talked there about obviously the performance analysis guys and how important they are. Do you have access to like video footage of the people that you're fighting against in the build up to the games, and roughly how long would you spend, studying a fighter?
Yeah, it depends. So if some people are particularly tricky, you have to work out what they do, what their tendencies are. Our PA team go through all the video of all the tournaments. They put it together. They like format it so it can be like, this is what this person scores with most. This is how they concede. This is what they like to do. This is when they fiddle with their top. And you get all that information from these guys who've gone through all the details, and then they present it to you, and you work with them and the coach then to develop a game plan.
And do you train full time now? Because I think I read that from a couple of years ago that you were balancing training with working. I think your family have a business as well. So are you still working, or are you able to train full time now as an athlete?
Yeah, I work as well. I do a few different things. I think it's important to balance your life out, to be honest. People get the blinkers on with sport, and they just do that one thing, and their whole life revolves around it, and then it's not healthy. I like to do things outside the sport. I have a lot of things going on outside the sport, and I think the old view of that was it would take away from you and your ability to perform in the sport. But I think I've shown over time that it's only helped mentally and physically to have those things. And I think I don't only think it's important, I think it's necessary, especially for me.
I think that's a very healthy way of looking at it. I guess, you sort of think of someone like Tyson Fury, who, the first time he won the world championship, I guess that was perhaps he was pinning a lot of his, sort of whole being as a person on that one thing. So I think what you say there is a very healthy outlook. What are some of your other, sort of hobbies and interests outside of Taekwondo?
Oh, loads of things. I live in Pembrokeshire, so we've got a lot of outdoors here. We go kayaking, we do all sorts of things like that. I help a few friends with businesses, things like that. I've got an Airbnb business that I run myself. Loads and loads of things like that. And it just keeps your mind going. It gives you energy rather than takes it away for me.
And how do you deal with mental pressures of, competing in elite sport?
With those things, I think having those things outside helps. It just puts things into context that you can't sort of. My whole identity isn't wrapped up in it, like you were saying. I think I've heard of a lot of UFC fighters in particular say that when they achieved their overriding goal was to become champion, and it's a very, very hard thing to do in the UFC. But when they got that goal, they thought that things were going to change. They thought that everything was going to be okay, and it didn't work that way. And I think I learned from things like that and a couple of other things that in sport that have led me to this way of thinking. And yeah, I think it's important.
Brilliant. Well, Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. And obviously, yeah, best of luck for Paris. I'll be watching closely, and fingers crossed for you winning gold. And look forward to hopefully maybe catching up, at some point after the games to chat about your experiences and how you get on.
Yeah, sure. Nice one.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Matt.